Dum da da dum da da dum da da dum da 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 dum. Dum da da dum da da dum da da dum da da dum. Just to recap, ting. I got to fix my amps, guys. Sorry about that. Yes, distorted audio aside, it is I, your coach Dub, over at Del Sol for one last week for my season. But you guys still have one more left in yours, even after our 7th week of improvisational greatness, this time emanating from Desert Pines High School. Let's bring in the King Kopy himself to break down all the action. Welcome him aboard, Kopy. And I saddle up my horse and I do a little improv. What's up, Kopy?
What's up?
How you feeling this week? Lucky week 7. The hype is real. It's back. I felt it. The energy this week was so good from Desert Pines, right? The improv had it in spades. Tons of energy. How did you feel about week 7? I know I had a lot of fun. I got to spend half the day with y'all, and it was some good stuff.
Yeah, I felt like a lot of people, a lot of students, a lot of teams showed up and played, and this is not going to mean anything to anyone, but it's kind of a pattern I've noticed over the years. Just when we get into certain times of the seasons or certain pockets, just what to expect. And I feel like it was right on the money this year. So week 7, I was kind of expecting a good swing, and here we were.
Yes.
And next week, I mean, it's a coincidental with the 1000th show mixed into it. But next week should also be a lot of fun. It's almost like we get a bonus playoff week. Like, that's kind of the feeling I'm getting.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice. It's week 8's always a weird antsy week because it's like, playoffs are next week. It's bittersweet. Like, it's just this weird antsy week. So we get almost just a smile and enjoy a day without a lot of that next week, which is cool.
Yo, goodness gracious. Yeah, definitely. For you seniors out there getting ready to enter your final regular season game of Jesters history, take a deep breath and try to appreciate what you've done this year, because we're coming out of pandemic improv and it's still a learning process, and we've had a great year. We truly have. There's been a lot of students on stage, a lot of fun to be had, some really memorable moments. And, everybody's really settled into this comfortable place of being able to make fun of each other a little bit. I mean, you're getting ribbed left and right every week. And I am too, I feel like at this point.
Right.
So that's usually a good sign that we're heading for great improv as playoffs come about.
Speaking of getting ribbed, I owe another apology.
Oh, no. Yeah. Who did we misname this time?
Well, I was right and wrong when I said it last week. We were breaking down shows from a hat, and I was talking about the Cheyenne Centennial show from last week. And I was talking about this scene, this replay style scene they did with a toilet, which I thought was hilarious. And I said that Grace was the toilet. Grace was, but Grace didn't initiate the toilet. Jasmine from Centennial did.
Kopy, get your details.
Well, in my head, so I mean, and I've said this about both of them, they're both powerhouses, Jasmine and Grace. So I didn't give the initial starting credit to Jasmine, and I should have. So apology, Jasmine, you are also a rock star.
Hey, well, you know what they say in Sunday school. Nope, I lost it. Anyway, I was gonna say something along the lines of every reference to a porcelain throne you miss, an angel gets its wings or something. So it's okay. We'll push through it, as we all do on the porcelain throne, and we'll just keep moving forward with another exciting breakdown of improv action. But first, Kopy, do you sense it? Do you feel it on the horizon? There's something drifting slowly towards us. It's what I like to call a milestone. And not just any milestone, buddy. You know what I'm talking about. You mentioned it just seconds ago. Tell us why we are all so proud to be reaching 1,000 Jesters shows at 3 p.m. next week at our final school of the year. Remind me where we're going to be at next week before I forget.
Completely. So week 8, this coming week, is at Valley High School.
Valley.
Which is kind of cool because we've had a lot of history with Valley, and
sure have.
So it's a coincidence that we get to be on that stage in general. I mean, talk about one of the most epic issues that we've ever had in this league. It was on that stage.
Picture this league.
Shows. Yeah.
We were sitting there getting ready to enjoy the championship show. Okay. Literally championship Saturday at Valley High School. We've done this at this point, maybe what, Kopy, 8 or 9 times. And
Yeah, I'm sure 7,
you,
maybe. I think it was somewhere
right.
right in the middle. 7, I think.
So this was probably about 4 or 5 years ago now. And right as we're getting hyped for, I think we'd just gotten done with awards, right?
We were at the end of the coaches show.
Oh, so our opening act.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kopy comes out and says, so this building's flooding.
Yeah.
We're all going to calmly evacuate through the front doors and head into basically the miniature theater that they had fully encased in the school, kind of like Clark's, if you guys were there for those trio of weeks. Boy, what a Kopy loves championship day, guys. You guys have no idea how much planning Kopy puts into every single championship show and day, and to a minute, it absolutely has to go right. So if you tell him the theater he's performing in is flooding, like, this is literally DEFCON. So yeah, that was a wild year, bud.
Yeah.
And Valley,
it's a lot of history. That was such a interesting, fun day, just that in general. So kind of stoic when we talk about the 1000th show, at least. I think from the top, I think the reason that the 1000 at least is so impressive is that if you're a theater kid, or even if you're not a theater kid, if you just equate it to shows and plays that you do, I mean, at best, like, maybe, and I'll even just say it directly, if you're Green Valley and you're doing 2 weekends worth of the play, I mean, at best, you're doing 20 shows, and that's way of an oversight. Those of you that are only doing a play 2 or 3 times, you don't know what doing it 20 times is like. So 10 maybe if you're doing it in such a weird way. So we're about to say that we were about to do show 1000. So when we do the 8 a.m. show on Saturday, it's gonna be show 992 or whatever it is.
Yep.
So I don't know, that is just, it's something to sink in. Those thousands of shows have told so many stories, so many moments. I mean, the amount of things that we've talked about just this year and every year. There's so many things that go into it. So I tried to come up with a plan that I thought would allow us to live in the now, but also give a little bit of love to what we've accomplished through the 1000 shows. So.
And there's a lot of love to give. And rumor has it, Kopy, that some of that love may be giving back to the audience who might be there for that 3 p.m. show in the form of some larger than life past Jesters personalities. You want to maybe give us an idea of what we can expect in this unique matchup?
Yeah, so it's impossible to put a show together to say, hey, here are the 1000 shows worth of storytelling, but I did my best. So first, I intentionally scheduled it to be Shadow Ridge and West Tech because they're the 2 newest to the league. Shadow Ridge even newer than West Tech, so
super duper.
I wanted them to have that as a way of saying, hey, moving forward, like, you are just as much a part of this as anyone from the past.
Absolutely.
So it's them, and then we were adding a 3rd team. So we're gonna have a 3rd set of chairs, and it's basically gonna be 3 teams against each other, but the 3rd team is going to be a team of quote unquote legends. 4 people who their resumes, I think, are long and cool enough to where it at least gives some representation for any students who have passed or gone or graduated, whatever. So the 4 are Brandon Green. Brandon Green is our first official league MVP from 2010.
Ever, guys.
And coincidentally, he is also our first league champion. So he won the championship with Del Sol that year. And Greeny was actually he also coached a team to go to the championship as well. So if you just put those stats on the paper, wow, what Greeny did for our league. And when you watch him perform, you're going to get it. Quite honestly, maybe the funniest person I've ever known. I would probably give him that moniker.
He's the type of person who could take the smallest of offerings and bounce them into this fantastic, like just amplified creative take that will make any small thing you give him so super substantial. Some of my favorite moments on stage have been with Brandon Green next to me, and it's so exciting to know that he's going to come and show you all what he can do, because it's a lot, guys. There's something to his creativity that's irreplicable.
Right.
Go look up that word.
We also have Song Woo, who is going to play.
Hey, woo! Let's go.
That is a much more current name that some of you may know,
Yeah.
because Song has been coaching now for a few years and has had amazing success. But going back to Song's playing days, Song was truly the player that would kind of stand in the back and was shy, very curious, and then Song had a complete transformation to win our 2017 Most Improved Performer Award.
Yeah.
And then even made it into the main stage cast. And I would argue, from a performing standpoint, Song, even after graduation, has just evolved into this beast of a performer. So I think even watching Song now would probably look back at that song and probably take care of her in a performing sense. And then Song too, last year, coached her team to the championship. So Song's resume is as long as anyone's in this league, and that's another reason why I wanted Song in this one.
Great choice.
And we're keep going. We're going to Samantha Elton. Samantha Elton, the name Elton obviously has prestige in the award day of championship day. But before Jack, there was Sam. Sam was a 4-year player who is the only student to ever perform in the championship all 4 years of high school. So if your team made it to the championship 4 years in a row, that's what Sam did. And Sam's the only one to do that.
Yeah.
And that's a giant credit to Sam as a performer. I used to think, watching Sam, that there's nothing Sam couldn't do.
No.
Just talk about a pure dripping talent standpoint, how to lift people up around you. And then Sam was the 2012 MVP. Sam also coached in this league. And then, of course, Sam was the stepping stone to Jack, who, of course, we have an award named after. So talk about representation for a league.
For sure. The Eltons are the first family of Jesters, you could almost argue. And with Sam Elton especially, guys, I mean, if you use your imagination and think of some of your favorite female comedians out there these days, maybe an Eliza Schlesinger, maybe if you're more the prop person, or not prop, but skit comedy, maybe you like Kristen Wiig, maybe you're a big fan of older names like Gilda Radner, or current powerhouses like Kate McKinnon. Sam Elton's one of those, right? When you think of lady performers, very few can just drip talent the way that Elton does, along the same level as those performers. So I bet if she hears this, she'll say, "Oh, you guys are way too nice." But then she'll go out and she'll absolutely melt your face in improv form. Like, it's gonna happen next week. Do not miss the show. Those are just the first 3 people on that team. Who's our 4th?
Well, and to completely piggyback and confirm exactly what you're saying as far as powerhouses and whatnot, Song's a powerhouse, Sam's a powerhouse.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then the last is Corey Shelmy. Corey, you guys see every week, if you realize it or not, because Corey's our stage manager. Corey also coaches several schools now. As a player, Corey won our 2019 Jack Elton Award, which is a good transition from Sam. Corey is actually the only student other than Jack Elton to be selected as their team's all-star in high school all 4 years.
4 years. Man, so that's wild. Yeah.
Only 2 students have gotten that. And we're going to talk definitely a lot more about we talked about All-Stars a little bit, but All-Stars are coming out in the next 2 weeks. And how hard it is to get 2, let alone Corey getting all 4. Corey is a beast on stage, and Corey is all power. When Corey speaks, I see muscles come out of her mouth. Like, that's how powerful Corey is as a performer. So just the 4 of them, if you want to talk about the league as a whole, the league is is 75% female. I mean, that's what the league is every year. Look at our team of 4 right now, 75% to 1. I mean, there's so much representation when I put those 4 together on paper of what this has been. And some of them don't really know each other. So I don't know if some of them have ever met in some cases, but what they show for what this league is, I think that's going to be pretty neat. I know in talking to Song and Miley, who are the coaches of West Tech and Shadow Ridge, I said, hey, who on your teams should be on stage for this? Who can take this in and soak up the sun in this one? And who's going to benefit from that? And so I'm super interested.
Yeah, as much fun as it is to watch these performers do their thing as an audience member, for those of you who get to be on stage with them, you truly are getting this awesome gift, because, you know, when performers who are assured of themselves and know who they are up there with you, they're focusing more on making sure that those around them stay just as high as they can be. So you guys will get to be uplifted, you little ones, just as much as these coaches are put on pedestals up front, you know, as they get ready to show you what they've got. I'm super excited for you all of you little ones who get to hang out with these 4 legends of Jesters history are truly in for a treat. These are some of the sweetest, strongest performers we've had in our whole history. They will take good care of you, and they're going to help you feel like $1,000,000. So enjoy the show, and audiences flock to this one because our 1000th show means something to all of us, and we want you to be a part of it. Valley High School, 3 p.m. this upcoming Saturday. 1,000 and still kicking, Kopy. Congratulations. That's, I guess, what I'll say next week when we've done it. So let's just make sure we have a nice smooth transition into week 8. And as you know, the pressure is truly rising. The playoffs are right around the corner. Teams are beginning to decide if they're 10 deep, if they're 4 deep, if they're somewhere in between. Games are becoming more and more important as students are learning the ones that they really want to focus on when the scoring counts. And it's an exciting temperature. And as we get into today's shows from a hat, I think you're going to see while we break down these shows that there was a playoff mentality in a lot of your performances this weekend. And let's check it out. Are you ready, Kopy?
Yeah. When everyone watches our recap next week, they're going to know the playoff bracket, which is kind of interesting to think about. So right now, of course, you don't, but this video next week, you're all going to know.
And you should all know as well that Kopy is not the only one who collects old school sports hats. I have for you today a beautiful original Seattle Supersonics hat. How about that? That I got from the greatest city of all time. That is, of course, Seattle, Washington, birthplace of yours truly. And now that my vanity project is out of the way, let's jump into some shows from a hat, Kopy. I want you to go ahead and reach into metaphorical improv hat here and grab my first one. Go for it. Go ahead. I'm waiting for you to pantomime with the camera. There it is. There's your hand going in. Good job. I'm really proud of you. Way to participate.
I hit the bottom of the hat, so it would
Oh, well, then next time I'll pay better attention. I apologize. But hey, how about our first show of the week? Oh, man. And it is one that we had a lot of eyes on, because this team may very well shock the world and have a Cinderella run all the way through the playoffs if they're not careful. And they're up against another team who we can't wait to see mesh together for that playoff interaction. How about Western going toe-to-toe with Clark? Our first game of the week. Clark and Western, 2 schools way out there where the sun sets, if you will. And Clark has been playing really inspirationally. You know, Coach Jarrell told us that he invented a game that was played this week, which involves something we can all use a little bit of from time to time. Tell us, how was Clark and Western? Tell me everything, Kopy.
Yeah, so we got a couple of, we have one new face that made it into this one. With Clark, Rose, we got introduced to Rose at Clark this week.
Aww.
Western kind of stayed on that path. They've just been this inching along progression as the years gone on, and the comfort and the funny that's built in Westerns. I don't know, just who they are as people. That just continued. So Zach and Cameron just have so much fun together. I think being up there, seeing the new edition with Harley in there, mixing with the Western crew and that blood, and then Haley, man, is firecracker.
Pop.
For Clark, yeah. So let's start with that game. They created a game called Therapy. And if anyone knows the game Dime Store Novel, it has a real Dime Store novel-y kind of feel. Where the people in the therapy room are talking about a story that you're seeing played out. So that's exactly what they did, was a therapist and someone in a therapy office talking about a story that you see animated basically on the other side of the stage. And they had really good play back and forth. So first off, let me just indicate how difficult it is to create a game. Please, no one run to practice this week and go, hey, I've got an idea, and just don't. It's so hard to do. Unless you just have the utmost faith it's going to work. Trust me, stick to what you know and work on what you're working on. So yeah, big pat on the back to this effort and this attempt. That was awesome. So, and I know Coach Durrell has found some other things over the years that he's liked and that they've worked on in practice. So, but then it goes down the line. So we got some 6 things, some Beastie Rap. We even got some tag out in this one.
Oh yeah, good eclectic show.
Yeah, this was a really well-rounded lineup. Heck, even Western's inner monologue of eating the last slice of pizza. That's a great start. Like, that's such a great premise to jump off of, and then how you build that and develop what characters. And Cameron had quite a funny show on the Western side of what he was able to add, even just in that particular scene. So, yeah. Oh, funny moment in 6 things. I walk over to the benches because Roman gave another impossible suggestion.
Oh God!
And he did it to both of them. Western got concept of acting as one of the suggestions.
What?
And Clark got concept of an NFT, whatever that is.
Oh my God! Really?
And they both got to it at the same time. So I was at the Clark side, and they're trying to figure out how do we get them to guess the word concept. And then I go over to the Western side, and I also walk over, and they kind of like, when I walk over, they're like, "Why are you here?" And then for 1 second, they give me this acknowledgement, and they're like, "Okay, here's our plan." And then I was like, "All right, you don't need me. I'm fine."
That's awesome.
Yeah. So kind of some neat moments in that show too.
Yeah. How would you get concept? You could be like a condor, or you could be like a contraceptive product, or you could be a con, like I'm conning you, or I could be I don't know.
There's a lot of, I think there's a lot of ways you can cut that one. But just because I've been doing this for so long, I know the preposition, the word, that part of a word con is actually very difficult to get someone to understand. Yeah. So like, if your brain immediately goes to pros and cons, I get it. I get why your brain goes there, but that's really hard to try and convey through pantomime.
You could put on the old Geordie LaForge visor in Star Trek that's nice and recognizable, and then you could scream con. Like, I don't know. I'm doing my best. I'm still stuck.
I totally agree, but it just it's dude, we're so many generations from that.
I know. I hate being old. No one knows what a Geordie LaForge is. Excuse me.
You know what I said to someone today? I was like, man, I love the 80s, but that was 40 years ago.
Oh God, I am so bummed. I've never felt so 33. How about we break up this horrible feeling we're getting in the pit of our aging stomachs by selecting our next show? Here we go, folks. Raring and ready to go were East Tech and Silverado. I like this matchup. This one's tasty. There's 2 teams with some serious personality and pizzazz and presence. And here they come, ready to play against each other. I bet sparks flew for Silverado and East Tech. What's going on?
There's no way I can describe the show without telling this part of it first.
You are so you're so monotone. I'm scared.
Yeah. So they played a game of Scenes from a Hat where I ended up I kept trying to find a way to get them out of these jokes that they were telling, this pattern and a break into YMCA dance. Like, I tried so hard.
Okay.
I even wrote, I think, a joke that says, "What is Kopy gonna say about this show?" in the Just to Recap video, and I threw it into the hat just to see, and it didn't matter. They just kept this up, this YMCA weirdness, and they basically recreated the YMCA song and how you do it. They had the entire audience doing it. It was like both teams were doing it. It was like, yeah, it was like they're creating a trend or something.
TikTok it. Let's
Yeah,
go.
that's
Let's go make
exactly
$1 million. Let's
exactly
go.
what they're doing. So to where me and Roman lost all control, I think they were having a lot of fun.
Oh, geez. The inmates ran the asylum. Good
they-
job, Silverado. Good job, East Tech. You're taking it all back.
And if this doesn't at least illustrate that even more, their team choice games of Melodrama and Cut and Paste were just evidence of what I was just describing.
Yeah.
So Melodrama and East Tech, it's clearly a game they play. No one else is playing that. In the past 2 years, no one else is, or no, someone else did last year. But their way of telling a story in their version of Melodrama is so weird and so it's not weird and it is weird. If you watch it, you're like, this is weird. But the way it's so simple, Hunter being the judge and the pattern you created with how you designated who was saying what and when was such a fun way of doing that. And then in Cut and Paste, man, I couldn't I I remember I kept setting up Parker to add some weird intensity, like the intensity you're feeling from Warren right now. And I kept setting up Parker, and Parker he was like, "Nope, Kopy, I'm not like I'm doing it my way. Don't you steer me out of this path." That was this whole show. Yeah, it was them defying the odds, but creating a lot of fun along the way.
Sure. I mean, if you're not trying to do something to make everybody uncomfortable at this point, you're probably not exploring everything you can do on stage. You're in your 7th week of Jesters. Like, get your pot shots in. Sounds like they had a lineup that definitely had the potential to combust. And, Melodrama is one of those games. It's close to my heart. I don't know if I've ever played it well in my entire life, but the one time I thought I did, I was like, that was my favorite scene ever. And so if you kids are out there looking for a challenge, tell Kopy to come by and teach you Melodrama the way he wants to see it, and see if you can get into that kind of incredibly simple, simpatico mindset of telling you guys, seriously, the simplest story ever. One of your favorite examples to bring up about Melodrama, Kopy, wasn't it literally just filling a drink at a 7-Eleven was the concept of the whole story in that scene that the Danny boy or the boys did back in the day?
Yeah, that's, I mean, they were the ones that I think kind of set the benchmark on how to play it.
Of course.
Yeah, filling a drink, laundry is honestly the first one that comes to mind, is them doing the laundry. Just what they're able to create and focus on and actually attack is kind of what Melodrama is supposed to be about. So yeah, it's definitely a whole different animal. Does everyone run and ask their coach to teach it to them this week?
Let's hope
it's tough. It's
not.
tough.
How about just some advice on it? We might have to circle back. What can I say?
Maybe.
You never know. That's one of the hardest ones, kids, for real.
Right.
Kind of like a quadrants or an inception. Like stand back and take a deep breath.
Haven't seen a quadrants this year.
Yay, you know what? If you want to try it on Thursday, if you know what I mean, you're welcome to. Anyway, fun show. Absolutely great matchup between two schools who have very distinct styles as they approach the playoffs. They're some of the funniest teams in the league. If you see Silverado or East Tech across from you, be ready to bring your chops. You gotta bring those chops. All right, folks, here's another show dressing up and ready to take the stage. It is a matchup that I thought we saw earlier this season when I was writing our games, but now I'm realizing maybe not. It's Team Adorable one more time, going toe-to-toe this week with Arborview, the Aggies. And while Kopy finds his notes, a special thank you to the Arborview students. I'm speaking to Lucas, Rowan, Allison and Audrey for driving all the way across town last Wednesday to be a part of the Del Sol showcase we put on in the Black Box Theater at Del Sol. It was wonderful having some different improvisers in that room to play with us, and we hope you had a great time. It meant the world to us that you were there. Thank you so much. But how was...
Allison and Audrey came to one back in December too. Yeah.
Classy kids.
Yep.
You know, whether you want to perform and you're just looking for a stage to do it, or you want to support those other improvisers around town, going to each other's shows is good etiquette. So thank you very much, Arborview. You guys rock. But how was Arborview and Centennial, talk about two schools across the valley that want to dominate that Northwest region? How did it go?
So you got Lucas and Rowan that you just mentioned in the show this week. No Allison and Audrey this week, but we had a new face over at Centennial as well. And kind of it always works this way, but I met Tristan backstage, Tristan's first show, and just said, "Hey, I'm Kopy. Nice to I kind of do stuff here." And she's like, and she says, "Hey, I'm sorry I haven't been here yet. It's my first show. I just finished directing this play at Centennial. I just did this. I just been so busy. So happy to be here."
Wow.
And most of the time, people's first show comes out with nerves, but they started the show in machines, and Tristan drew first blood. That's such a hard spot to take,
right?
I think, at least, and do it well. And Tristan went out, made a choice, and was like, "Hey, I'm first show, but I'm here." So, which is a pat on the back to you, Tristan, for sure. So, welcome to the league.
Boops and beeps.
Boops and beeps. We got some. We got some boops and beeps without ever. I literally said it to Roman. We got some boops and beeps without anyone ever saying boops or beeps.
Haha.
No one ever said boops or beeps.
The actual electronic ones. Nice. That's extra credit for you kiddos. Nice. Somewhere Coach Tears of Bonanza smiles wide. Very cool. Any other highlights? I mean, who was also on that Arborview squad if not Rowan and Lucas?
We saw Jade and Bram. Jade, man, you keep getting better each week with what you're doing, and the comfort. And I think that's what it is. I think you're settling in. You're finding that you can stand up there and deliver your personality, and that you're good at this. So that's kind of cool to see where this goes. We got to see some Evil Twin and some Number of Words in the show. And then their own. It's funny. At one point, this was not even a part of the league, but we've seen this several times this year. Some head-to-head Jeopardy.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's not even me pushing this. This is just coaches and teams creating this on their own. So we got a Rick and Morty pairing in Jeopardy here.
Fun.
But maybe the weirdest was Zeke and Orange. It was a pairing. They called themselves Zeke and Orange in Jeopardy, where just so ridiculous. The way that they interacted when Zeke introduced himself first, and then Orange says, "My name's Orange," and even Zeke's response was, "Your name is Orange."
Yeah.
They were such a fun, angry duo of hilarity, I think, in this one. There was a lot of fun all the way around. There's a lot of context, I think, in this show. Seeing different people doing these different things, it was neat. So, fun show. Yeah,
it was really cool. I feel like you and Roman are like Rick and Morty. They're Kopy. I feel like that's a similar dynamic.
I'm gonna get picked on bad for this, but I've never seen Rick and Morty.
What?
Someone's gonna beat me up about this.
You should totally go see Rick and Morty right now. You got to. It's so good. Show me what you got. That's literally you'll if you see that episode, you'll get it. Okay. Let's move forward. Rick and Morty is quality television, just like that show was quality improv. And this show, I bet, provides more of the same. This time, our third show of our breakdown will be Legacy going up against LVA. Fun matchup. One school's way over there, and the other one's kind of right next to the strip. How do you get that spot, LVA? I want that real estate. That's the theater I want to be playing in.
That building is so old. Vegas,
like your mama.
Vegas was
Oh, oh. Okay, moving on. I'm sorry.
Las Vegas, I think the way it was built initially was not the way that the city is now. Like the Las Vegas Strip was slapped in the middle of a city of a plan that wasn't what it is. That's why Fremont Street and the Strip are so different. One is north and south, one is east and west. Is I think it just was not created to be the way it is, and it is what it is. So LVA, when it was built, was in a much different world than the world we now live in 2022.
Wow.
But great. Yes. No, that's a great acknowledgement of the location of their school.
I'm sorry, Legacy. You have so many distinguishing features, but all I care about is your distance from the rest of us. Thank you so much.
Legacy's super far.
Okay.
All
I got.
So this particular show, the story on LVA all year has been chemistry, and how fun it is to watch them just. And I think what goes to that is how different they all are personality wise. Like they're truly a group of separate people that came together because of improv. This not necessarily a group of friends that joined improv together. They are different people. But we did get a friend. We got a new face in the LVA mix this week who is a friend of Elliot. We got David in there. And I think this has been like a all year long like goal of trying to get David in a show.
Trying to get some other blood. Let's go.
And I don't know what the joke has been or why it was so hard to get David there, but not only was David in the show, in his first show this week, David guest in 6 Things this week.
Oh, wow.
And they're just like,
David.
They're like, hey, welcome to the league. You're guessing in 6 Things.
Seriously. Apart from radio and Jeopardy and, all the other individual games you could possibly have, guessing in a 6 Things or a sideline debate is the role that you have to be brave to have. That's cool. And I bet he was just lightning lips, right? Let's just talk about everything. Yak, yak, yak.
Yeah. And it was definitely a strong showing. Like it definitely was with the way that they've been playing. He fit right in. There was no weirdness. I mean, to me, Bram's on like a rocket ship right now with how Bram's that confidence and what Bram is offering. Like when I see Bram in my head, I see Bram doing the exact thing that I'm doing with my arms right now, and just like flexing and strength, and this is what I'm giving you. And it's kind of a cool transition. I don't know.
Do kids still dab? I think it's very dead, right?
It could be. Yeah, that could be. But yeah, that's been a lot of fun. And then if you want to flip the script on Legacy for a second and talk about their inner monologue, where their suggestion was Phantom of the Opera versus Dracula.
Yes, that sounds like so much fun.
So much fun. And they created characters and depth and story progression. And I really could probably talk about this scene for 10 minutes.
Wow. Loaded.
Yeah, really loaded, fun game. And that's what it's supposed to be. If you can create a story, we can talk about it forever. And who does what and where and when. Lindsay at Legacy, this was definitely the best I've seen you. This was your best show. Like,
yay.
Senior year, Lindsay, like, good for you.
Yeah.
I remember. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Lindsay, I thought I caught you for a second or two on stage. I meant to come over and say hi and happy senior year. I remember you turning on the jets near the tail end of last year's improv experience and finding how to make your own way. And it's wonderful to see you on stage doing it this year. Congrats, kiddo. And congrats, Legacy, for a great show against a team that some people are talking about and are used to talking about, because LVA has always got some power across from its opponents, so to speak. But we're not opponents. We're all working together to make a good show. We all know what we're talking about. But this is a pseudo sport, so we might as well pretend like it with the way we talk. Anyway, next show, folks. How about these old school rivals? This is real. I'm pretty sure these schools are always circling their matchups when they see each other on the schedule. You know what's coming. It's happening. It's Cimarron. It's Northwest CTA. Buckle up. These are two schools who can definitely lay claim to the last 3 or 4 championships here or there, right? Like contenders all the way through. So whenever they play each other, it's supposed to be awesome. And I bet it was. Go ahead, Kopy. How'd it go?
Yeah, it's kind of neat to, at least if we want to have a little bit of a circle back to the thousandth show thing, to show evolution. Really interesting moment happened in this one where I noticed that Eden, who performs with Cimarron, was sitting in the front row, and Eden was wearing a Jesters shirt that I knew was mathematically predating any of the team now.
Yeah.
So and I wanted to know why and where that shirt came from, because the styles of shirts have evolved a little bit over the years. And I quick asked in the middle of the show, hey, why is Eden wearing that shirt? And they said, because Eden wasn't in the show, and they said, oh, we found that in the shop, in the wood shop at Cimarron.
No freaking way.
Which is kind of cool.
But
it means that a student bought their shirt and they don't have
wood
it.
shop.
Yeah, they don't have it anymore.
Yep.
But I'm like, okay, that's cool. Eden's got it. We can pass it on. We can allow that to carry over.
Gosh, that's wild.
So that was kind of neat. But in this particular show, business as usual, just quality play. Althea backstage again, just hyping ringleader. I mean, Sam was our transplant over from Cheyenne, and to
sounds so serious. Did you have to wait for a while for that, Sam?
Yeah.
Jeez.
In Sam's third year, Sam sitting back there backstage, like listening to Althea and just having that patience to go, okay, yep, right, this is what I do here, got it, and having that conversation, it's just, that's neat. Azra's coming around, I think, for Cimarron, and then we had a new face in Mersey from Cimarron on stage as well. Northwest played a younger crew. So we didn't get our Isaiah or Erica's. We got the younger crew, but have been all in shows already this year. Yeah. So I think it gave them all an opportunity to just kind of say, hey, we're here, we're growing, we're killing it. And that's exactly what they did. I know that I always speak praise of Lily when Lily's up there. Lily's got a really great way of secondary thinking. And how Lily's brain kind of digests ideas. I love that perspective. I get compliments on Brandon a lot. Brandon, we saw from Northwest.
Well, I'm glad you're getting his compliments.
Well, just people come up to me and ask about, hey, this and this spot, and Brandon seems to be the middle of that sometimes.
Yeah.
And Brandon has just this. I talk about Brandon's smile. Brandon always approaches this idea with this giant grin, and almost like, I hate to say, like
he can't wait to unleash it, right?
Well, I think Pennywise, but Pennywise, there's an evilness to that grin. There's no evil to Brandon, right? Okay. So yeah, that's not that connection. But I would give the nod to Gavin this week. Gavin was he smooth operator for Northwest. It just there was a shirt change in the middle of the show. Wow. Gavin loves his duck shirt, and that duck shirt got transitioned up. Like, Gavin was super smooth. I don't think I even need to talk about like choices, like games and suggestions and whatnot. I thought the play of these 8 were really good. So I don't think we even need to dive into games. I think I liked what I saw from all 8 of them.
Just a big clash of personalities and histories and presences, and it's wonderful to see. Sounds like the show was 6 shirt changes away from a Cher concert, which is always a good time. So that's a reference to the fact that lots of the residencies here in Vegas, like their performers go and change their costumes a lot. Like, it's almost silly. But oh well, I had to explain my joke, which means it wasn't funny. How about this show? I bet this was funny. Desert Pines and Sunrise Mountain, some neighbor schools, right? These are 2 teams not too far from each other on the map.
Well, just correction. It was Desert Pines and El Dorado. But
did I do that? Did I literally?
Don't stress.
Dad, I'm so sorry.
No stress at all. How could you ever be confused? Man, there's so much to look at here.
I'm just not Kopy. I can't. I don't know what schedules are.
Okay, so Desert Pines is our host school. First off, man, were you gracious hosts.
Awesome.
Yeah, Miss Smith, you are wonderful. Miss Smith made a coach's room for the coaches filled with snacks and
Aw.
whatnot. That, of course, I didn't see until 7 p.m. when the day was over.
I saw it. Thank you, Sonny. Your cookies were so good.
Yeah, Sonny's. I mean, you guys were awesome this week in hosting us, and I think you had a blast. Thomas, I know you haven't done any shows this year, but Tom, you were fun when you were a jester.
Yeah.
And I heard you out there all day just commenting and giving suggestions and having fun.
That's great.
So yeah, just thank you for that particular day. Hope to be back in Desert Pines again. From the actual show standpoint, they kind of just continue doing what they've been doing. Avi, clearly comfort has settled in you in what you're doing. And we're getting to that point. Sonny and Sarah, you guys are just such a duo with what you can accomplish together. And I think Haley's evolution to, I could talk about Haley for a long time, like with what Haley's doing. Haley's evolution on thought patterns, on angles to walk into scenes. They're
using their body during a scene.
Yeah, it just there's some poise to it. There's some just strong elegance to how Haley presents things, to where it just gives it that much more of an edge.
Definitely learning. Yeah, definitely purpose in a lot of what Haley does.
Yeah, and I made an observation during the day that wasn't even in their show. Haley sat through a lot of shows, of course, and Haley would give suggestions, and Roman takes whatever he takes, but there was such a disconnect between Haley's way of giving suggestions and Roman's acceptance of suggestions. And I'm watching the two of them like just completely misfire so many times. And I was enjoying it. I was enjoying just that. And I had to say something to Haley later. But yeah, that at least goes to Haley's credit as far as what Haley's able to do as a performer.
So cool.
Yeah, kind of cool.
She's the anti-Roman. She might topple the empire.
Well, and as I transition into El Dorado, we saw a setup scene of hijinks in this show from Desert Pines that one of the best setups I've seen. Oh my God.
Nice to hear.
They paced it, their entrances, their movements, like we always say at this point, was it on purpose or was it accidental? But it worked, right? So I don't know if I can answer that question, but man, was it good. Such a good setup. And then El Dorado turned it into fairies. So it was about kung fu is what the setup scene was. And El Dorado came in, it's like, hey, fairies all around us, and entrances of fairy. Yeah, they had
such a fun way to twist that.
Yeah, it was a fun spin. Zach and Miriam have been also a nice young duo. I hope Zach and we just don't know what happens year to year as the season develops, but Zach and Miriam have been kind of connected all year with what they contribute together and how their brains work. So I hope that connection just builds into more teammates, more everything, because again, they gave it again in this particular show. We got to see Ghost in the show.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and Ghost was definitely kind of helping lead the charge on the El Dorado side in especially sideline debate. I saw like almost an extra gear turn on what Ghost was doing in sideline debate.
Miming? I'm assuming?
Yes, yeah. On the pantomime side.
Yep.
So that was cool to see kind of the burners turn on.
That's good. That student has been adamant that they cannot mime for a while, and it's wonderful that they keep putting themselves in a position to try.
Yeah.
Tell me though, Kopy, was there a Dominic on that Desert Pines team this week?
No Dominic this week.
Copy.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Yeah. And then maybe the closing note is two. I'll give two, but there was some fun radio suggestions on this one, and Ghost's radio suggestion was two. My note is 2 trench coats pretending to be a child. It was
reverse Little Rascals.
Yeah, and the way Ghost played it was fun. And then on the other side, German Chuck Norris Sarah,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know how anybody could do a German Chuck Norris. And I had heard a little whispers that it was incredibly physical and simple. And, Sarah Miller is one of those gifts. I'll just say it that way, and we'll just move on. One of my favorite kids I've ever met in the league. That's just me. What can I say? Love schools like Desert Pines, because you know what? They will absolutely surprise you. You have been warned. Watch out. Watch out in the playoffs for Desert Pines. For some reason, I've got a good feeling about them. How about another school that has got a lot of good feelings around it with how you've been talking up Zai from that team? Desert Oasis, improving and improving and improving, having that stalwart, that icon, and Corey Shalmy as their coach, getting better and better week in and week out. And they had to, because guess who's coming across the stage from them this week? The mighty, mighty Rift side. Our defending champions took it to these young Oases. How did it go? I bet it was a fantastic preview of a potential postseason matchup to come.
Yeah. I think there's so much to say about all these shows this week, and this particular one, this is an okay platform to at least bring this up. Desert Oasis this week had some.
Those are my favorite kind of shoes.
Thanks. Desert Oasis had some issues at school this week with lockdowns and fights and threats and more than you should. Right. And a lot of, Sam told me on Saturday that Sam didn't go to school all week because of the issues that they're having at Desert Oasis. And it was Sam's birthday on Saturday. So Sam,
happy birthday.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to get up and come to the show regardless of some of those issues. And being on I guess the employee side or the CCSD side of it, and knowing procedures and having to learn that stuff and whatnot. I think maybe the smallest thing I can offer in that scenario is that the reason that there are these drills and the reason that there are these procedures is to make sure that we can ensure people's safety. Amen. And sometimes we just can't do anything about certain things and people in life. And just the population is high, and at Desert Oasis, what is it, 3,000 students or something?
Sheesh.
And you have these things to help us and to make sure that we can go on to the next day and we can get there. So Desert Oasis, sorry that you had such a bummer of a week. I know you even missed practice because of it and whatnot. But as far as a performance on Saturday, it was business as usual. Yay. So we can keep moving forward and we can keep doing what you guys want to do. I want to no Zai this week. We didn't have Zai in the show this week.
Fair enough.
But I have to talk about this. I can't get this out of my head. Elijah's first show this week for Desert Oasis.
Okay.
And they played a game of Survivor that Elijah came in with just the simplest but funniest of entrances in their Survivor setup, where he was like, I don't know what he was like, baking or something, and he comes in singing this little tune. I'm baking up something in my bowl right here and baking up my soul. He's comes with this simple thing that just did not pick up for the rest of Survivor. Like he was voted off the island early, and it just didn't make it to the end. And I'm just like, oh, this was so funny and so good. Elijah, huge tip of the hat. That was such a good moment that you were able to add to that. So welcome to the league. And then Sam got to the end and got to be the one. Sam had such power in that game. So Birthday Boy got to finish out Survivor.
It's a gift, but welcome to the league, Elijah. Glad you got to have that moment.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And then Daniel, I think this is your best show all year. Wow. So it was nice to see your power this week. And then being up there with Melissa, who is just kind of naturally a wild card. You had a good little crew up there. They attempted some continuation this week. Love
the keyword attempted.
Well, that's such a hard game. It's such a hard game to play.
It's incredibly. Yeah, you keeping your head straight during that is next to impossible. So yes, it is truly an attempt. I'm just saying. It's a great word for it.
and then lining up with Riffside on the other
Mhm.
side of it, your defending champs, they just keep playing at that level. So
Mighty.
yeah, and it's kind of neat because we've watched them just over these years just kind of stay at that level. So Josh now being in their senior year and just
Ah,
and how powerful Josh can be. What Margot adds to that group now after
kidding.
transferring there, and then even freshman Haley, like Haley's got some
Mhm.
power, and it's just whether that's Haley organically or it's kind of just trickled down, like what they're
Mhm.
able to do. They had a deleted scenes this week, which the suggestion for deleted scenes was Baker and Scarecrow, which transitioned from Survivor, which was nice. Like the
Yeah.
suggestion transition was like, oh, cool, back to back. Like we're yes anding what was happening in one game and allowing it to exist in the next. So
Did there get to be a callback to the baking bowl during
oh,
that game?
well, I mean, there's definitely baking. Like Margot was doing the baking
Copy.
out of the top of it, and Brutus is the scarecrow. And so watching that fun little goofy back and forth
Yeah.
was a lot of fun. But the setup for the deleted scenes for Josh and Haley, for whatever reason, went musical. They decided that all of the deleted scenes needed to be sang, and they came out and sang Titanic. They came out and sang Twilight. What's the Alvin and the Chipmunks? Like,
Wow.
yeah, it was.
I just wanna hula hoop. Yeah, I dig it.
Which I think was organic. Like I don't know if they planned on that. I think it just happened, and then they yes and it, and then they just kept going with it.
Off to the races with silly song time.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So we got Beastie Rap sideline debate. There's plenty in that show.
Yeah, certainly sounds like it. And music, friends, is a great improvisational tool. If you're the type to not shy away from singing under your breath, this could be the time to go to your team and say, let's do some musical stuff for those playoffs, because a lot of people are very not musical and they get very impressed by people who are musical. So if those judges happen to be like, wow, look at them making up a song on the spot.
Well, I've known Josh for a long time. I know Josh definitely struggles with like rhythm and like, so I'm a little surprised that Josh was the one singing. So that's not a knock at all. It's
not
a huge,
at all.
it's a huge like, hey, good for you, gold star. So
Agreed. Yeah. Any sort of facing your fears like Ghost and the miming, or bringing David into a group like LVA at this point, like anything we're doing to face some fears right now, we're doing the right thing. Keep it up, kids, because break down those barriers in yourselves and you'll have a really interesting playoff. And these two teams are poised for interesting playoffs, but first their paths make them collide into one another. West Tech goes toe-to-toe with Cheyenne. Two teams with a lot of different tools in their kits. A lot of fun perspective, but very different in their presentation. West Tech is quietly becoming one of the strongest teams in the league, if I'm being honest. So, how do they compare on stage this week, Kopy?
This one was fun to the end for sure. Cheyenne, like the Miley era of Cheyenne, just keeps finding this way to evolve. And do really good work. And Grace, who I had to include in the apology from earlier, getting captain, and just how powerful Grace is. I mean, we can talk about Susan every single week. Susan is such an exceptional brain and such a different person in everything that they say, do, think, feel, and present. Just it's been cool to watch, because I'm pretty sure Susan was a freshman when Miley got there, so it's been cool to watch the Miley Susan evolution together,
interweaving together a little bit,
and new pieces. Giovanni, second or third show this year, you're clearly such a nice human being. Like you bleed nice. The way that you speak and present, and even just the fun you were having in the show. I think I saw Giovanni catch something that West Tech was doing, where Giovanni was genuinely like, whoa, and like really just enthralled in what it was. And that clearly comes off in who you are.
That's cool.
And then Alexa, again, we had another really strong performance out of Alexa. So yeah, Cheyenne's got plenty to offer. with multiple people. Like it's not just the four that I just talked about.
Right.
Because I've sang Kelly's praises, and so we got Ace earlier this year. Just there's plenty to talk about. And then yeah, West Tech too, man. I mean, I think each week Song is learning who West Tech is and what they can do.
That's scary.
Right. And each week I think Song walks away and goes, man, I didn't know they had that in them.
Look what else we can do.
Right. And this is the second time I've made this comment, I think, at West Tech this year. They played a game of forward reverse that was so calculated. They knew exactly what to do and when and how to do it. Maya coming in with the boulder, like Maya, you get all the credit for the boulder. Oh my God, if that's not who Song is as a performer. Right. I'm watching Maya bring that boulder in and I'm just like that.
Look at Song. Yeah, iteration 4.0.
Yeah. So yeah, there was so much to talk about. The good taco storyteller from Cheyenne, like ridiculous. Yeah, what else you got matchups? I really had fun with these what else you got matchups.
Sure.
Who I picked to face each other, my brain was like, ooh, I'd love to see this and that. Maya and Alexa, I was really excited to see for what else you got. Susan and Susan and Bianca in what else you got, because I just built up Susan about how different of a human being Susan is. But holy cow, Bianca from West Tech, there's something about you that's so almost not human. The way you move your body, just the spastic energy you have. Like I wanted to see that and Susan, and their suggestion was Macarena. Oh my God.
That won't disappoint. And obviously Bianca initiated, right?
I don't remember who initiated. I just remember going, this is everything I wanted it to be.
Well, good. Then at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. That's great.
Yeah. So yeah, there's so many cool things that I think both coaches are walking away with. So yeah. Speaking of those two coaches, of course, they're part of the 1000th show as Shadow Ridge faces West Tech next week. So
bam, there it is. It's happened. It's very exciting to see new layers coming out of each school, including the ones who think they already know who they are, right? Because that means we're going to see more surprises potentially in the playoffs. This is when folks really want to put their cleverest concoctions out there. So keep digging to see what nuggets you have in your improvisational toolkits, kids, because there's plenty to be found within all of you. We have the faith. I love the enthusiasm. All right, here is Bonanza going toe-to-toe with A-Tech. This is a matchup that had a lot of interesting potential to it. A-Tech is a team that won the East last year and is marching towards another exciting playoff opportunity with that coach Song, who is so good at finding new layers in their kids. And across from them is a Bonanza team that you can truly say reminded me of the energy I saw from the earlier Bonanza team, but with totally different faces. So I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, they looked a little different, huh?
Also,
Bonanza,
slightly similar or familiar, but totally different.
Well, I love saying this, but 4 new faces who haven't been in shows yet. Now, Kai has been in the league before, but first time this year. But the other 3, first time for all of them.
Yeah. I want to say Kai's never been in a show that I can vouch for that I know of. Being completely honest, this is the first time I've ever seen a Jester's shirt on Kai, and
You're right.
Totally fight you for that.
You're right.
That's why I was hyped.
We've known Kai for a long time, but
such
Kai
a natural
never made it into a Jester's show.
Right.
Yep. Okay.
So I coached Bonanza this week, we'll just say. And I was super excited to see some of these kids get their opportunities. And so go, Kopy, go. I'm sorry.
Well, and to take that even a step further, I met Kai when they were in 8th grade at a summer improv camp. Just helping them grow and learn and whatever. And just here we are. It took a couple of years to finally get them in a show, but we finally got
so
them.
Exciting. Yeah. I hope it catches some fire for that kid, honestly.
Well, there was some interesting connections between the two teams in this particular show because on the A-Tech side, V and Angel, we've kind of talked about in these shows about just kind of their general shyness. Um, I I talked about V saving the day a week or two ago and getting in their first show, Song not knowing, just this really weird set of circumstances, but then V having a solid show in that show. So to see V up there again, that's one of my favorite things about this league, is to see the initial go to the second, and then so V, honestly, I couldn't have been happier to see you up there. Now Angel, I remember distinctly from going to ATEC at one point this year. Angel's first show, I could visibly see Angel shaking. Nerves. So I had an interesting moment before the show where I'm standing there with the 4 newbies of Bonanza and ATEC, and of course we had Sean and Jessica, which we'll talk about in a second, from ATEC. But I looked at Angel specifically, and I said to Angel, "Hey, Angel, these 4 are all new. They've never been on a show. I need you to be brave. I need you to be." And Angel's like, "Okay, I got it." And Angel was great.
He was great.
Angel had a great show. So I mean, huge pat on the back to you, Angel. Huge pat on the back to you, V. You definitely held up your side of it. But
Absolutely.
then, and I know you're going to talk about this, but maybe one of the coolest, most interesting moments I've ever seen in Jesters happen in this particular show.
Literally for me too. So let me lead in, because you talk so much during these. Mallory is the sister to one of the students over at Del Sol that I was able to put in a show a couple weeks ago, and I knew I wanted to give them a chance too, is my bottom line. So finding a way to do that was important to me, and enter this wonderful Bonanza scenario. And Mallory was going through most of the show very barely saying anything, honestly, kiddos, like being as incapable of overcoming their own personal anxious hiccups as any other student we've ever had in the league. And I'm not used to seeing that personally. So I was really nervous as we were getting through, because here comes To Do Rap, right? This big game where we're all got the microscope on our heads and we're all beating ourselves up because we could have rhymed this and we could have rhymed that. And boy, we didn't fail with style enough. And gosh, it's just a game where so many kids cry on the inside, right? And some adults, just saying. But here comes Mal doing her thing, and Roman, for some reason, decided that it was okay. And sometimes when we play pseudo sports and the rules are bended enough, it feels really subliminally cool. And for some reason, as student after student went down and Mallory continued to stand there, despite, quite honestly, kiddos, not really having a reason to be if you're going strictly by the rules, when we got down to one-on-one, Mallory versus Jess. No, it was one of our ATEC friends. It was
Jessica.
It was Jessica. Good.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, I don't know what's happening, but you might as well go all the way, Roman. And Roman did. And Roman let this kid Mallory, who quite honestly wasn't saying a ton on stage, period, let him have a win in To Do Rap. And I've hyped personally how much that means to me in my real life, adult 33-year-old life, to have won twice. Little Mal had this smile on their face that I will not ever be able to replicate for them. And I hope it's a moment they'll remember forever, because I know I do. Given a fun little To Do Rap win just for being there is a generous thing. And thank you, ATEC, for being classy. You guys are so classy for just letting that happen and having fun with it. Thank you for the respect you paid. That was a beautiful moment for me as a coach.
I think it was a cool moment for everyone, and just to even take that a step further for everyone else, it was an organic thing that happened in the moment. I don't want anyone else to think that you can get away with that ever again.
No.
that was a once in a lifetime cool. Just how it happened was cool.
Yeah.
So yes, huge,
special and sweet.
Really, really cool moment. But then if we transition to everything else we saw in this particular show, what a blind line out of ATEC.
Yes.
That ventriloquist Marquise with no legs, just
that was so wild.
Gosh, Jessica, man, did you not have a show?
The show.
Man,
caught some Jonathan Perez vibes, I kept saying, because you reacted to everything, Jessica, and you used your body in such big readable ways like Jonathan would. Like, you were just in it and channeling, and wonderful work. Wonderful work this week, Jessica.
Yep.
Absolutely cool. And Sean had my favorite line I've heard all year. Here's this anime scene in replay, right? Jessica comes out and spews something about season 2 of something on Crunchyroll. And even saying that out loud, I have no idea what that means. Do you?
No.
So Sean cleverly says, yes, references we all can appreciate. I love that. It made me laugh so hard. Go ahead.
It's what Sean adds. Sean has that
Yes.
Susan thing from Cheyenne. Like Sean has always been that other brain that you just can add in there.
Yeah.
And it's so important when you find those students to just allow them to be them and do what they add and do. So you can have a Jessica dominated in one category, and then you can have a Sean's right there just hitting dingers every time.
He's like this wonderful sobering sip of reality in a world of otherwise fantasism, right? So he could just be like, this is what's really going on in the real world. Boy, do you look dumb now. Like, that's the way he presents his best dingers. And man, I love that kind of student. I love that kind of brain. I just Sean, you so effortlessly provide us great comedy. It's great.
And he has been, this being Sean's 4th year. Sean was a Most Improved Performer of the Year nominee a couple years ago. So yeah, you've been doing this the entire time. Fun show. Emotional Party, Human Tooth Beach, Passive Aggressive.
Yes, and little Sophia for a quick moment. Another one of those freshmen on stage this year. Sophia for Bonanza was real clever in 2 moments. A, the awesome passive aggressiveness for sure. Now we know what you're capable of there, Sophia. And 2, bending down to pick up the blind line as a to-do rap rhyme. Did you catch that?
Yep.
And just totally couldn't get it out because they were just so impressed by their own cleverness to do that. There was a blind line that hadn't been used, kids, and Sophia tried to use it and just broke down laughing because what a clever idea. And the whole crowd still loved it, right? Because just we all speak improv at this point. Fun moments. It was a great show. Thank you for that show, ATEC and Bonanza. You guys made my morning. And this show maybe made the afternoon because though I missed it, I imagine it's got some potency as Basic and LVA closed out the day. And, there's a student that's had just enough shows this year to leave a lasting impact over at Basic, and a young coach at Las Vegas High School who really seems to be finding their footing, which we need. We need young coaches who know how to coach. So thank you, Haley Garcia. This was a cool matchup as Basic and LVA or Las Vegas High School played. Tell me your perspective.
Yeah, I was ready for what I got, and I'm happy I got it. And in this particular one, they opened their show with 185. And Basic also played 185 last week, and I talked about Evan and how Evan's able to deliver on those lines. But on this particular week, what I saw was 8 students, legitimately all 8 of them, almost kind of like running out to deliver their jokes, or at least with that swagger and what I was talking about with what Evan can do so well. Now, Evan didn't disappoint in that category again. Like, it was very clear who Evan is as a performer. But to see Las Vegas, who I think shy is a general term that we can say, whether that's the right term or not, but I think shy is what we can say when we talk about Las Vegas as a whole. But to see them all running out there to give those jokes, I was just like, ooh. So yeah, whether that's Coach Haley, like, I mean, preparing them for that or what. Joan, I know you've had it all year. Like, Owen, nice to see you back for a second show. So yeah, this was such a cool way to start the show. We got Emma on the Basic side in your second show. So just everyone had that same way of playing that game. That's exactly what we're trying to do in this league.
Yes.
Exactly what we're trying to do.
Push that energy.
Yeah. So then I'll take this even further. We got some boops and beeps in their machines.
Boop, boop, beep.
I had a really funny moment that no one knows about in machines where Evan was last, and
the other hard spot in machines, if you ask me.
Sure, right, exactly. So the suggestion was Scooter. Both sides are doing their boops, their beeps. They have good attaching thoughts and ideas. But I was standing on the base. I was standing next to basic when they were doing it. And the three went in and with their goofy, silly little ideas. And at one point I leaned over to Evan before Evan went out and I said, man, your team's a little different than your teams of the past. What's going on? What's wrong? He's laughing because they're so silly and so out there with their ideas. It's just a kind of a neat moment that I was able to have with Evan.
Sure, because he's rubbing off on them.
Right, absolutely. Just silly all the way around.
Which is good. If those kids take some Evan away from this year, then Basic is better off for it. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I thought a really solid team choice round of blind line and dating game. So blind line for Las Vegas, which Las Vegas, you deserve so much credit for this game. So they played, the suggestion was surgery. And Joan started off the scene laying down as a patient. And Krista was this. Oh yeah, it was Joan and Krista. So Krista was the surgeon, and that's how the scene started. But where they stood on stage was really far away from the lines. So they got into a dialogue that did not lead to the lines.
Oh,
like they got
engrossed in conversation.
Yeah, they got entrenched in the scene to where it didn't progress into it, to where I think Owen had already come in third, still 0 lines. But Joan knew that the lines were like a destination.
Right.
So at one point, Joan is like mouthing to Krista, like, hey, remember, we have to get lines. Krista wasn't understanding why Joan is doing this. So it was like a hard stop to the scene and like, what are you saying? And like in this moment, Kopy brain goes off and Kopy goes, okay, I can help us get there. So I turn into the alien that jumps out of Joan's body in the middle of surgery. Yeah. And I do the, hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. So I turn into that just to allow us. Yeah.
It was a line. You picked it up.
Yeah, that was that was me being an alien.
Oh, so well, you need to understand that that's not quite alien-like in much of pop culture, my friend.
If you know the reference of the alien jumping out of someone's stomach, you do. Go ahead and watch Mel Brooks' Spaceballs, everybody.
No, I haven't seen that one. That is the one I need to watch. My bad.
So I pull it and I'm almost transitioning just to like leave the scene. Like the alien jumped out of your body and ran away. So I get to the lines, I pick up a line, and then they automatically are like, yep, now we're going for lines. But then I'm not kidding. The microphone that we were using for the show the batteries died and it set off a static that almost sounded like a fire alarm.
Oh my God.
And then it turned into me literally running to go try and change and fix it. But the only way to fix it is to run to the sound booth upstairs and cut it. So I had to literally leave the scene because people were like in that, oh my God mode.
Yeah, that's horrible pain.
Now, while I was running, someone had taken care of it. I'm assuming Miss Smith, because you were brilliant.
Yeah, she is brilliant.
At Desert Pines. Now, I'm in the back of the theater at this point when the sound stops. But then, without even like, okay, guys, back to normal, everything's fine. Las Vegas just jumps right back into the scene. Forget that alien. Let's get through this game and get to these lines and have fun with it. Like, such a brilliant, like, combination of events that happen.
That's very professional, right? That's super professional.
I just, such a veteran way of going through it. Even with me jumping in and being stupid and being the alien, like, you just knew where we had to go and how to get there and what to do and the quality of it. Just a cool moment, like a cool game and moment.
Super amen to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they always say the show must go on through static, through flooding, through all of it. And it sounds like LV or Las Vegas High School. Sorry. Don't know why I keep wanting to abbreviate it and then totally screwing it up. But LHS, LVHS. I'll just stop. No more letters. Super duper. No more letters. Las Vegas High School way to have the poise to get back where you knew you needed to be, getting back on track, but still keeping the fun and the silliness so we all don't lose momentum. That's a classy move from a classy young coach who knows what she's doing. What can I say? I endorse the Haley Garcia train. Final show of the week. Forgive me, it wasn't intentional, but it has happened. Del Sol appears in our final breakdown of a show as they played Valley, which, you know, I've said it before. Gio reminds me a lot of one of my childhood friends who's been doing improv with Kopy off and on for decades as well. So whenever I get to hang out with Gio, I'm like, it's a comfort zone. And when we were putting together our games, we couldn't make the most progress. We were just kind of like, let's just get together and figure it out. But this week was important to me because this week hosted two students of mine who haven't been in a show together since they came into the league with me 2 years ago. And that is Isabella and Alejandra Coyoy. And Coyoy has been so unbelievably awesome with all of her theatrical work this year that I've barely had her at practice, like hardly at all. But we knew we wanted these two to have one more show together. And I put them with a couple of my rookies, two more new faces who hadn't been up there. But Little Dash has worked so hard in practices with Del Sol this year that I couldn't wait. Like, I was super excited to give him this opportunity. And his good friend Kai joining them. And up against them was a Valley team who's got real fun. I like Bishop. I do like Bishop, man. He's there, and what he says works because he's there. And I know you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Martin too provides a lot of fun and enjoyable approachability. He was a very friendly team. Loved seeing Isabella, our 4-year, against Bella. They were captains, and I'm so mad Roman decided to have them have a scream off as a coin toss. Like, could have had a better Bella argument or something. I don't know. The better Bella Bureau, shall we? And just so I can complete the set and prove that I pay attention to everybody's names, Kopy, you fill in the last one for me. Darn, I missed that Fourth Valley kid. My bad, kid. You deserved it. Thank you, Mac. Oh, yeah. And that the extra irony is I know Mac a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so love to see it. Fun matchup. What'd you think, Kopy?
Yeah, all the above. There's some moments in this particular show that stand out in my brain for sure. I don't think I even needed the notes for this one. And it was the 8 a.m. show. That's always my fear, is you walk away from 8 a.m. and you forget something.
We Dragons bring it at 8 a.m., yo. That's the gauntlet. Let's go.
I'm going to give it on both sides. So
I know, I'm just saying.
Del Sol played Bartender. Bartender
Yay.
is a game that's pretty much based in improvised singing.
Yep.
And I've seen Coyoy do this before. So this isn't the first time I've seen it, but Coyoy is really good at being a bartender.
I agree.
And what makes that, if you talk to someone who's musically inclined, maybe they would agree with this or not, but someone doing it a cappella as a bartender, I would argue is even harder than whether you have a track or some music following you, whether it's being played live or not. So not only is that in itself fun, and was my interest not already peaked and ready,
right.
The execution of it was awesome.
I was so impressed.
So good. Let It Go parody.
Right.
And even the lines that Coyoy said in the song to transition into the next person coming into the bar was so poignant. Like, it was like the perfect way to have parodied it and said it. The only thing I'd love to would have been able to provide some music behind that, but I don't know if I would change anything about how that game went.
No.
Being too Italian was such a funny suggestion. And Bella, holy crap, did you not make the most with John Dina? Holy,
man.
My brain exploded when you came out with John Dina.
Oh my God. Nobody can see Bella on that one. Like, that was so good. And if I can, what I loved about this game is Coyoy was doing 3 different unique textures to the music.
Yep.
And everyone had a different flow to it and a different feel to it. And she also helped the other students in that game, especially Dash and Kai, who are, as I just admitted, shyer. encouraging Dash to spread his arms and sing with her was one of my favorite things about that game.
Right.
And what blows my mind is I haven't had Koyoi for 20 minutes all year. Like, what
Right.
can I say? This kid just kind of gets it.
Right.
And it was a blessing to watch on stage. And I hope if Koyoi takes the seconds to watch this, they realize that you could do whatever you want on stage, kid. And I hope you come to practice on Thursday. I'll just put it that way.
I know I've said, because I think we noticed this last year with online towards the end. It was like, ooh, what's Koyoi doing? Right. So we were having that. And I know I said something to her at one point or this year. I was like, hey, you should do more improv. But I mean, Koyoi's kind of doing everything.
Yes, been a beast in theater land.
I believe Koyoi's a STO for Nevada Thespian. So I just get it. I know how much you have on your plate. So then if we flip over, if this isn't already ridiculous enough, for whatever reason, Valley's Game of What, the suggestion was a first date in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Why does that matter?
Because Speedy wouldn't stop saying New Jersey.
And then of course the game was filled with unicorns and monkeys and what it turned into.
And if I could say, Mac has been a student who has truly warmed my heart this year too. And watching them kind of take ownership of that what scene, if you know what I mean, the moment they walked on stage, they just kind of said, I'm here. This is the direction we're going in. Let's follow along. And I just felt that temperature change, and I appreciated it so much as an audience member. And that tells me that kid's learning and that kid's growing, and it makes me so proud and grateful. And proving they can go out there and play with anybody. And Valley, thank you for welcoming them in and giving her a chance to spotlight. And it was a really fun game, but I'm sure you had a different take from what, right?
No, I totally agree, especially in that particular game. And then I would echo that a little bit for Valley's Isabella, for just the show in general. Like the second thing that probably makes me the happiest is seeing a 4-year player go out like in style. And you've only got a couple of shows left, and I know this is a part of you. So to see you play at this level is pretty darn cool. I mean, crop circles from replay, even just your switch interviews, which sometimes we kind of overlook because they're so quick, like these 7-second interviews.
It's a good round of switch interview this week.
Right. Exactly.
That's simple. Lots of cool using the chairs in different ways and really exploring your space and your posture. Like it's fun, man. We're at that point where the improv is pretty solid and smooth, and everybody likes playing with each other regardless of what school you're from. And that's where we want, man. So keep it nice and friendly like that in the playoffs, and we're all going to have consistently awesome shows that help us all smile, win or lose. Promise. Really cool. That was our shows from a hat. It was an uber long breakdown. We've been here an hour and a half already, Kopy. So forgive me if I try to bullet through these next segments, because we still got a show for you, folks. Let's break down our props. Our props are the 3 things we loved most about the week, the things that stood out and kind of held up our improv game. Not just can it be staff, not just can it be schools, not just can it be students, not just can it be coaches, not just blah, 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 blah. It could be anything Kopy wants. Just 3 props that highlighted the whole week. Kopy, what's our first prop?
Well, I'd love to give props to John Dina because of how brilliant that moment was. But John Dina's not a part of the Jesters. John
can't get props for money.
John Dina didn't sign their media release form.
Okay. That's a better joke. Much better.
Okay, props. Number one's gotta go to Jessica from ATEC.
Amen.
Amen. Wow, what a show.
Yeah, I've never compared a female performer, at least on paper, to a male performer, but boy, did Jessica remind me of Jonathan Perez this week. Like, just everything that she did. And I know I said that earlier, but it stays true. It's not just something I whipped up. Super next level performance.
I think at least knowing Jessica the way I think I know Jessica, I think Jessica would probably see this and will probably see and hear this prop. Jessica, you've always been capable of this. I think you've always been able to do this. Heck, you were in the championship doing all this too last year. So just whatever you had for breakfast on Saturday, like have it again.
2 of it.
And just keep bringing that intensity. And it's always going to shine. Like, you were so good. You absolutely deserve props. this was your week.
And judging from, I was part of that deep playoff run A-Tech was having last year, and watching it closely as a Hawk. And I noticed all of the little things Jessica was getting comfortable with doing, and watching her just noticeably turn it from an 8 to an 11 this past Saturday was so much fun, because I understand she understands, if that makes sense. She understands. She didn't go out there and phone that in. That was all quintessentially purposeful excellence. And that shows that A-Tech's pretty ready for those playoffs. And when you have a kid next door to you like Sean, it's the perfect contradictory kind of attitude to put next to a Jessica, where everything is so absolutely electric at their best, which they should be. Thank you very much. And Sean being so caustic and dissolving, that's just going to create so much fun. Like, I love that dynamic. So props to Jessica for setting that up. That you guys have a real strong 1-2 punch.
Oh yeah.
Prop number 2.
I'm gonna go Bram from LVA.
Yeah.
Man, Bram, I can't get this out of my head.
Bram.
Your climb in these 7 weeks of the season so far has I mean, your whole team's climb, because your whole team got props at one point earlier this year. But now I think you're separating is the wrong word, but you're in your lane and you're doing it as well as you can be doing it. So don't change your breakfast either. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. Keep
growing into whatever this tree is.
Yeah, because you're a lot of fun up there, and you're helping that weird kind of chemistry thing that you guys are doing over at LVA. So yeah, Bram, don't change. You're rocking.
Nice. And one more prop was rocking. What is our third and final prop of the week?
It's hard for me not to give it to all of Las Vegas, the Las Vegas high school team.
Oh, so, I thought you meant like every school, the whole Las Vegas Valley is just taking home some kudos. Very cool. Las Vegas high school deserves a nod, but why in your mind?
Man, it just that blind line moment I broke down with what happened. That 185 swagger, there, what are you doing round with basic? It just, again, if there was a better word than shy, is I think the category that I would assume you to be, at least at the start of the year, and especially how it started with Bianca. That's not a bad word. With Bianca that first day, and I talked about it in the recap from that first week, but how we kind of got Bianca into that show, and then how it kind of developed to where we are. So it's cool to see the way that your year's gone, and then to see that show. Like, bravo. You should feel really good about that.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for next week. I want to see what you do next week now. So
the improvement to the Las Vegas high school team is noted and is very impressive, and that's a mark of a team that's gelled and figured themselves out a little bit, and a leader who has too. So that's always a good sign of fresh sprouts for next spring, right? We might see Las Vegas high school be the next Rift side to come out and announce themselves as a pillar of their conference, or West Tech, if you will. So really fun to see, and great props, Kopy. That leads us into, the parts of Jesters that are not quite perfect and polished yet. I might be seeking from you just some advice, if you don't mind. Can you give me just some advice? Let's say this week, I want to focus on questions. We hear them all the time in novice improvisers, and even the more experienced ones. Questions are utilized sometimes to deviate attention away from yourself when we're feeling uncomfortable, where we want to avoid those questions, I imagine. Or they go so far into leading questions where you can't possibly escape a funny answer. That could be really helpful to a scene. But some purists say questions in improv are a hard no. Just some advice, Kopy. Can I ask it? Where do questions fit into Jesters improv?
Well, depending on your coach and where you are with your season, this may or may not even be a topic that you've ever talked about. So yeah, not a bad thing to talk about here. I will stem this back to even just moments in my life that have been brought up by one of my favorite teachers and people in the world, Tanya Webb. Tanya Webb.
Centennial, shout out.
Yep.
Coach Adorable.
So Tanya asked me and I mean, it feels like 10 years ago now.
Might have been.
And it might have been, asked me while I was instructing her students, why I was telling them that questions were okay. Like called me out like in front of the class, called like I was wrong. And it's just, there's two schools of thought, I think, and I think I just lean one way versus the other. But psychologically, questions and improv are not good. That's not what you want. Any purist, any book you read on improv, and probably any traditional improv coach or mentor or class are going to tell you to steer away. And because questions filter responses, and it doesn't give you this full spectrum of yes and that you want it to, from a psychological standpoint. So if I ask Warren, what did you eat for dinner?
Ostrich eggs.
Well, right. So Warren, being an experienced supervisor, would probably pull it out of his stomach or out of the top of his head or whatever. But Warren, if Warren was answering, honestly and truthfully, he would say what it was, which was steak.
Green beans.
Yeah, whatever it actually was. Potatoes. So it's an interesting place to be, because in improv, we want to just react instinctively and truthfully and in a moment. And we can't eliminate the fact that we are thinking and questioning everything we do all day long.
Oh, true.
We wake up in the morning. How much time is it going to take me to get to do this?
Ding.
What's going to happen when I don't hand in my homework today? Ding. We are questioning life every moment of every day, especially in these shows. I mean, so it's really hard for me to say eliminate questions, because that's who we are as people. Stop being a person. Stop being human.
Oh, okay, Kopy, I'll stop right away.
Yeah, so I'm not against questions, because what I think you can do with them is you can find a way to be creative to ostrich eggs. So if we can open Pandora's box of creativity with how we yes and, questions are there. We just have to know that question isn't limiting. It's supposed to be opening. It's allowing you to still do whatever you want to do with it. Switch interviews is a really good example.
Oh, sure. Exactly. The alley-oop.
Yes, because and we should probably change the name of the game. And I've been saying that for years, because it doesn't need to be an interview. It doesn't need to be someone standing there going, hey, what do you think about ostrich eggs?
Right.
It can be whatever you want it to be for 7 seconds. But if you're getting the question, which most of you probably are, allow that to take you anywhere. If a question's being asked of you, who are you? Boo. Like, why are you being asked this question? If you just, if it's that simple every single time, even if the question, Warren, what'd you have for dinner? Well, as an archaeologist, I had a steak with bones in it, because I wanted to see what the bone was going to look like after, whatever. So it's just
yes, as a paleontologist, sir, I needed to find when the carbon dating of this specific ostrich had its young, and it had hatched, and it had decayed and died. Yes, that's what I had for dinner. Is that what you wanted?
Give it your give it your context, give it the stuff that we're telling you to use. And if you can answer any question that way, you'll never get stuck. You will never, ever get stuck and in this hole of, I don't know how to answer it.
Kopy, what's the spookiest part of that haunted house? Is it the darkened windows? Is it the shabby door that's half kicked down? Or is it the guy in the front yard with the axe?
Well, as a ghost that lives in that house, it's definitely the guy with the axe, because why else would I be a ghost?
It's a tangible way to die. We're leaving. Right. There's so much you can load into your questions, just like statements, but it's definitely important to not go out there and make your team panic by giving them all the responsibility to build for you. Who are you? Why are we here? What is happening? Wrong questions, right? Those are the ones that are like the bane of our existence. We want the leading questions, the ones that give the details and ask your character that you're posing the question to interact with your ideas, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Questions.
Don't point outward, point inward. We want to know inward. So
lots of good food for thought for those of you who are really looking for some true knowledge to take with you into playoffs. Questions have a place in Jesters Improv. Try not to let anybody tell you otherwise. How about this? Let's move into our Kopy's challenge. every single week we struggle with something that kind of drags down the league and makes us think, gosh, if this week could be any better, it would be with this one thing changed. Kopy's challenges on stage are extra games we get to play when we have extra time, but tonight Kopy's challenge is something for us to take into next week to help make it better. And Kopy, what's our challenge?
I hope the length of our video tonight doesn't mean that we lost people before this point, because I hope this happens at least in this particular challenge.
Yeah.
But my challenge is legitimately make an effort to come see the 1000th show.
Yes.
For even if it's just the simple fact of being able to see some insanely talented performers on stage, that can break any barrier that you think you have.
Literally,
you're going to watch them and go, wow, I did not realize that someone can reach that level of presence, of volume, of confidence, of any, like, you're gonna watch Samantha Elton pantomime and your brain's gonna go nuts.
Yeah. Truly.
So I want you to experience that. And what a better time to do that than the week before playoffs.
Yes.
So my challenge is make an effort to come see the 1000th show at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, Valley High School, kids. It's a central school. It's a smart location. Everybody just kind of come to the hub and check this out. Not the theater hub. That's a whole nother animal. I mean, the hub that is Valley High School, perfectly located to be kind of the center of attention. So come on down and check out the 1000th show. It deserves your attention, especially if you want some inspiration for the playoffs. I think a lot of you who draw and really look into what they're doing on stage during the show will take from it something that they'll want to utilize. So please come check it out. I'm speaking to you, Del Sol. We may be done for the season, but we got homework to do. We really do. And our final segment tonight, Kopy, our final one is our Kopy question, where I take another question off my dome and give it to you in a hope that your dome gives me, in its satellite dish way, some cool stuff to receive. Tonight, I want to ask you this. There is a role in improv that I think you would think we would want. I know that sounds confusing, but it'll get clearer. You see, every scene and story and tale as old as time has what? A bad guy, a villain, somebody who's willing to take the fall in order to tell the better story. And I wonder, Kopy, do we see enough bad guys in our scenes and Jesters, and how important are they to telling the kinds of stories that audiences can connect with?
Well, we just had a real, kind of real life talk when we were talking about questions before.
Yes, sir.
So to continue that, no one wants to be the bad guy. No one wants to be the villain. No one wants to be the cheater. No one wants to be the person who did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But in storytelling, you need that.
So
it
much
needs to happen, because if everyone's just good and perfect and going through their day without any type of change or flip or badness, how do we make it interesting or compelling?
Right.
You need to own that. And I know for me, I mean, I have some moral compass in a lot of things in my life that I know I don't cross, and I don't even play with. And I know from a performing standpoint, just sometimes when that's called of me, I need to do it. Here, to show you powerful, because I dabbled on this earlier this year, but
yeah,
I did there's a story called Mrs. Tulip. And this happened at Arborview. This is how I met Arborview. I was in front of their class, in front of their advanced class, and I got to do a scene where I challenged them. And I do this a lot, and I'll say, hey, who wants to do a serious scene with me? No comedy, no gimmicks, no, let's just get up here and improvise something. And I had Christy get up and say, sure, I'll do it. I didn't know Christy. And our suggestion was flower shop. And it starts with me sweeping up the shop, and she's mad. She comes in, and I'm immediately the guilty party. I'm immediately put in that position as the person who's doing wrong. The only way to tell a story is I had to embrace it. I had to be everything she was accusing me to be. But you also have to shed light on that. You can be a guilty person and still have thoughts and feelings and whatever. You can still have those things to connect people, to draw you in, to have some sort of status split.
Absolutely.
So I mean, Christy textbooked reacted exactly the way I wanted her to react, but the story was so compelling that Christy was never called Christy again. I called her Mrs. Tulip, and I still do. We got an entire team out of that who watched the story because we were all just kind of like, oh. And then the rest is history. Arborview and Allison and Audrey, and just the years that we've had from one game of me being the bad guy, of me being the guy who doesn't pay attention to his family enough.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I'm a single dad.
Can I use
talk about somebody that's right? So it's just
right.
It's the opposite of who I am. And that's one scene set that entire path in motion.
Can I talk about a bad guy in a different theatrical sense?
Sure.
We dabble on wrestling every once in a while. Kiddos, you guys have heard of John Cena. John Cena, it was like the greatest wrestling star of the last 15 years. Did he get there all by himself? He did not. He got there by defeating a man named John Bradshaw Layfield at WrestleMania 23 some eons ago. And John Bradshaw Layfield isn't a guy you know off the top of your head, but in history lore, or wrestling lore, I should say, he was a year-long bad guy champion, okay? He had the title, the big belt, the big crown that makes him top dog. He had that for a whole 365 days. And during that time, he beat fearless hero after fearless hero after fearless hero. And young John Cena was but a humble little rapping dude who did nothing but stream together great games of to-do rap, but couldn't necessarily take down the top dog, right? No, this villain became so vilified and so hated and so like everybody wanted to see him lose that when John Cena got the chance to do it and did it, it launched the hero for the next 15 years. So what Kopy is saying does transcend a variety of different storytelling mediums. It's all about finding the hero that overcomes that great villain. That great villain. You look at Batman, right? Batman's villains are the best part. Fight me on that, kids. I dare you. Come see me. Scarecrow, Joker, etc., like Bane. Great villains, right? That's what it's all about. So be the villain that makes your improv scene great. Have fun with it too, because I'll tell you what, as a guy who tries really hard to be as good as he can all the time and super sweet and sensitive and nice and appreciate you for all your enthusiasm, it can be really cool to rub your knuckle in somebody's scalp sometimes.
Everything that Warren just said, if you really want to know some good guy, bad guy type of ways, wrestling is such a great, like, that's exactly what it is. That's all it is. I don't know the story as well as he does of the one he just told you, but I would take that even a step further. At least everyone will know these names: Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan. Andre the Giant, if you don't know him, was very beloved. I think everyone who talks about Andre the Giant talks about him like he's this endearing, amazing creature. But Andre the Giant was the bad guy against Hulk Hogan, and
for like 20 years.
They were just like, hey, we need someone to be the bad guy. You want to do it? Oh, you, the most beloved big man ever to live and exist. Can you just be a bad guy, please? And that allowed them to tell an amazing story. And it's not. Everyone's seen Princess Bride. Who doesn't love Fezzik? Who doesn't love right? So they're just like, hey, be a bad guy. Boom.
And then it gets better, because guess what? Hulk Hogan, the hero who toppled Andre the Giant, 15 years later decided to be the bad guy himself, and it totally changed the medium again. So in improv land, you could be the bad guy and change some stuff. Just saying. All right, folks. It's been a heck of a show. We know it's been lengthy, but there's been a lot of quality stuff. I hope you found some quality in it too. And get ready to take that quality and prime it into new forms of improv for week 8, because it's coming at you with our 1000th show in league history. We're so excited. We're climbing the ladder of enthusiasm with our fists, ready to play some great improv. So come on out to Valley, drink it all in, be there for 3 p.m. for history, and know that we'll be back next week with another Just to Recap to break down the end of our regular season as we prepare for the release of the brackets to find out our playoff matchups. This is where it is all hyped. So join us as the best part of the year in Jesters gets started. We'll see you guys next week on Just to Recap. Goodbye. I wish this was. Oh God, there's so much blood.